1 Hour Photo is a movie that I've been sleeping on for a long time. It came out all the way back in 2002, and I remember being very interested in it after seeing a promotional picture for it featuring its lead actor Robin Williams. Gone was his familiar and comforting good guy image, replaced now with the portrait of creepy incarnate. It was an image that I remember shocking me with just how different and unsettling he looked after being so used to seeing him play wholesome, friendly and funny characters. But for whatever reason, I just never got round to watching it until now. One of the great little joys of watching movies that you're late to the party for is discovering that you like it, and it becomes one of those precious little additions to your collection. 1 Hour Photo is one such film for me, and I'm excited to dive into this review. I originally planned not to talk about the ending of this film, but I think it's key to understanding a fundamental part of Robin Williams' character. So here's your friendly warning about spoilers ahead. Spoilers begin here, and they end here. So, let's go. Robin Williams plays Sy Parrish, a lonely middle-aged man who works at the local supermarket as a photo developer. He's excellent at his job and he takes a huge pride in delivering the best photo prints to his customers day in, day out. However, he's harbouring a secret obsession with Will and Nina Yorkin and their son, a young family who have been having their photos developed by Sy for years. On the surface, they have a perfectly happy life, a life that Sy has been following in great detail thanks to the photos he regularly develops for them, and it's a life that Sy craves for himself. But when he discovers a secret lurking in the Yorkins' so-called happy life, Sy's obsession begins to turn even more sinister. Written and directed by Romanek, a guy who I was surprised to learn hasn't done much in the way of feature films but has had an extensive career in directing music videos, 1 Hour Photo has a very particular, almost surreal visual style and motif. I found his use of colour and lack of colour to be rather interesting, particularly when it comes to Sy being on screen. There's a very noticeable absence of colour when the camera is on him, like his life is devoid of any vibrancy or spark, and from my perspective, there's a good reason why, and I want to discuss this a little further towards the end of the review when I talk about the ending. I loved his attention to little details, and I really enjoyed his depiction of working life and routine. There's this great sequence at the beginning of the film showing Sy's meticulousness and pride in his work when he's developing the photos, and it's edited to his voiceover talking about why he loves his job and why he considers it very important. The movie is itself a little love letter to photography. We get a number of great voiceovers from Sy exploring the importance of taking photos and what it means to actually care enough to someone for them to take our picture. As someone who loves taking photos of the little things in life, this really resonated with me. This film is 20 years old, and aside from the obvious changes in technology and certain trends and styles over that lengthy period of time, I think it still looks and feels rather modern. One of the things that struck me while watching it is its parallels to our lives today. The movie explored the idea of only taking photos of the highlights of our lives for other people to see and not the dark stuff that we tend to keep hidden. And today, we can obviously see that trend that has exacerbated with the rise of the ever-invasive social media platforms that most of us have fallen victim to one way or another. It just struck me as interesting that this movie, which came out really before the invention of social media, pretty much accidentally predicted where we were going to go. Robin Williams is, as always, simply brilliant as Sy Parrish. The depths of creepiness and unease he brings to this character, coupled with his jarring appearance, really go far into creating this boogeyman that just makes your skin crawl. There's this amazing shot in the film that shows us just how deep his obsession with the Yorkins goes. We're in his apartment and the camera sweeps round to show a huge collage of duplicate photo prints of the family that he's developed for himself adorning his wall. It shows us this obsession has been going on for the better part of a decade. His appearance, though, doesn't look aggressive or intimidating. It just looks off. To quote a brilliant line from What Remains of Edith Finch, one of my favourite video games of all time, he's like a smile with too many teeth. I don't think I could describe him any better than that. Romanek's script is, for the most part, really good, but I have a couple of issues with it. For one, the Yorkin family just didn't feel that engaging. It felt like they were just there for the sake of the plot, and to be fair, I didn't care about them as much as I really wanted to. That's not to say that they felt completely flat, but it's very clear that Romanek poured a lot of his time into developing Sy's character, but for me, it felt like he didn't really have much to offer the Yorkins. And when you consider these characters should be fundamental to the story, it kind of feels like he missed the target on that aspect. Its runtime is a little over an hour and a half. It's a short film, but at some points it surprisingly felt a bit slow, but this could be due to my own expectations. But credit where credit's due. I personally think 1 Hour Photo was masterful at subverting my expectations with its ending. So, let's take a look at the Yorkin secret and the ending itself. After Sy looks through photos that he's developed for another customer, he discovers that Will Yorkin is having an affair with a work colleague. This infuriates Sy, but instead of flying off the handle straight away, he places certain photos of his infidelity into the prints of the Yorkins' latest developments for Nina to find. She discovers her husband's secret, but Sy is even more frustrated when he realises that Nina is willfully burying her head in the sand about it. Sy takes matters into his own hands. He ambushes Will and his co-worker at the hotel where they are meeting for their regular liaison, and Sy forces them into sexual positions at knife point while he takes photos of them. It's a rather shocking scene to watch, and it's the first time we've actively seen Sy as aggressive and violent. And it's the culmination of everything that we've been building up to through this film. But when watching it, I was thinking to myself, this doesn't feel like the sort of thing that Sy would do. Yes, he's creepy. Yes, he has an exceptionally disturbing fascination with this family, and nothing about that is right in any way. But this sequence felt so out of sync with everything the movie has told us about Sy thus far. I was sat there thinking, I've enjoyed this movie right up until this part, but this ending has really let me down. But I was jumping the gun. It's only right at the end of the movie that you learn who Sy really is. Sy is arrested and taken into custody, and during questioning, we discover that Sy, as a child, was the victim of severe sexual abuse at the hands of his father. With just a few lines of poignant dialogue delivered with utter perfection by Robin Williams, we get the whole horrible, disgusting and sad picture. Sy was obsessed with the Yorkins because they represented what he never had in his life, a happy family dynamic. He was brutally robbed from that at an early age. Sy never wanted to hurt the Yorkins, he just wanted to be part of their family. He never wanted to split them up and replace Will. It was the total opposite. When Sy discovers Will's infidelity, it made him so mad because it threatened his whole existence, his whole reason for being here. But he wanted to expose Will and make him pay for throwing away all the precious things he has that Sy never got to have. He wanted to punish Will because Sy saw Will as someone not deserving of such a gift as a loving family, because he flippantly placed it in danger. Sy is devoid of vibrancy and spark because that was taken away from him. The lack of colour when we see him represents the life that was stolen from his soul, and for me it also represents his life being like an undeveloped photograph. This day and age we hear the phrase subverting expectations all the time. Mostly, it's used by movie makers who dropped the ball in their production and delivered a film that let down its audience, and oftentimes it's used to shift the blame on us because we don't get it. But 1 Hour Photo subverted my expectations in perfect style. I just assumed Sy was a creep, a psycho on the verge of snapping due to his own delusions. Instead, it turned out he was the victim. It has its problems, but I really enjoyed 1 Hour Photo. Robin Williams plays Sy so well you forget it's actually him. It has great attention to detail, and that little but explosive twist at the end, as simple as it is, makes up for its few shortcomings. I highly recommend this film.